Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is our good friend Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst, best-selling author. Hello, Judge.
Hi, Stevie. How are you?
Good,
to be with you, my friend.
Always great to talk to you. Okay, so you're from New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, or at least we both live there now. And, of course, Christie, you know, every day now there's more subpoenas being sent down. Now they want to know if he took a helicopter ride. Supposedly he went to Ground Zero in September for 9/11, and they would have passed over the GW Bridge. So did he know? Did he see the lane closures? But, you know, this nonsense about how could he not have known? Well, then how could Obama not have known about the IRS and Benghazi and everything else?
Well, I think that that's all legitimate for discussion, Steve. I'm torn a little bit on this. I'm torn because I know Governor Christie well, and I have known him for a long time, and I've known him since before he was U.S. Attorney. And I also believe that a lot of the people who are attempting to point out his failures now are doing it not because those failures offend them, but because they want to put stumbling blocks on his road to the Republican nomination for president. Now, whether I prefer Governor Christie or whether I prefer Rand Paul or Ted Cruz or Scott Walker or Jeb Bush or any of the other, Mike Huckabee, my colleague here at Fox, or any of the other Republicans whose names are being mentioned, I honestly believe that the piling on against Governor Christie now has become partisan. I will acknowledge that he needs to have better control over what's going on in his office. If he set an atmosphere in which his crew, to use Tom Moran's phrase from yesterday's Star Ledger, in which they rescinded their endorsement.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that as well, yeah.
If Governor Christie's crew thinks that it's in a position that it could jeopardize public health and safety by creating these massive traffic tie-ups just to punish somebody politically, well, the governor is responsible for establishing an atmosphere in which it was believed by his crew that that would flourish. On the other hand, if this was something that he didn't know about, it does strain your credibility a little bit, because the Chris Christie I know is pretty much of a micromanager. You work for him, he knows what you're doing. You better darn well do it the way he wants you to do it.
Yeah, no, I could understand that, and I agree with that. And again, I have a very funny relationship with Christie. His last debate, when he was seeking the Republican nomination to run the first time, was held in my show, in my studio with me on WOR, and I was a big fan of his. He's disappointed me in many ways as governor, but I find myself defending him from the media onslaught because I agree with you. I think it's pile on, and I think they're out to get him. Having said that, though...
And the proof of that pudding, Steve, is that the same people do not advance the same level of scrutiny on President Obama or on Democrats who are in office.
Right, the very same media and the very same Democrats. You're absolutely right.
And that's what's troubling. Look, Governor Christie is not conservative enough for me. He's not libertarian enough for me. But I'm so repulsed by the piling on and the unfairness with which it's done. If the standard of examining Chris Christie under the microscope is fair, then all public office holders, including the President of the United States, should be put under the same microscope.
All right, but Judge, let me ask you about this president. You know, I think Republicans are finally starting to articulate, when they talk about the president abusing his power, the media is quick to point out, well, he signed less executive orders at this point through 5 years and X amount of months than Bush or Clinton did. And they're starting to fire back. I heard it from Paul Ryan and from some others, that it's not the number of executive orders, it's the caliber of the executive order and something else that really has not been done before, and that's taking existing settled law, including Obamacare, which our whole argument was it's settled law during the government shutdown, so you can't change it. But Obama changes it, and now we find out he might change it again and extend the employer mandate by 2, maybe 3 years, so Democrats won't feel the immediate repercussions around election time. So what he is doing, now we changed the immigration rule for people. It'll be easier for them to get into this country if they have some minute, distant terror affiliation. That just came out over the weekend. So he continues to do it time after time. And I just wonder when somebody in government is going to make him stop somehow.
Well, I agree with the premise of the question, and I agree with Congressman Ryan. Some executive orders, in fact, most of them, are below the radar screen. They complement, they supplement existing legislation, and they actually help the 3 million people in the executive branch of the federal government, all of whom work under the president. I'm including the military. They help them understand how the president wants them to do their job. But when an executive order materially alters existing legislation by changing it, as he did, I'll give you the immigration example. In June of 2012, when the president was running for re-election against Mitt Romney, when he thought he might lose, and the last thing in the world he wanted was for conservative Hispanics to vote for the Republican, he comes up with this idea that if you're here and if you're illegal, and there's about 11 million of you, and most of you are Hispanic, and you don't want to be deported, and if you do A, B, C, D, and E, I won't deport you. Now, where do you get the A, B, C, D, and E from? There are actually 13 of these. I'm just using 5 for the ease of conversation. He made them up.
Yep.
He didn't get them from the statute. So basically, he's telling people how to avoid federal law when his oath is to enforce federal law. So sometimes an executive order can actually defy the law he has sworn to uphold. That's when his behavior is unlawful and unconstitutional.
And
we see that over and over again from him. The thing you're talking about that they announced over the weekend has serious repercussions. The law is any material assistance to a foreign terrorist organization, and you cannot immigrate to the United States. He's going to dial it back by redefining what terrorist assistance is. That's for the Congress to define, not for him.
Not only that, but Judge, as an aside, sidebar, if you will, in legal terms maybe, what the heck is the possible reason for doing that?
I don't know what the benefit would be. I don't know what the electoral benefit would be from his point of view. I don't know what the moral benefit would be. I don't know what the political benefit would be.
Oh, my God. All right, one more for you, real quick, and I know you got to go. And the question of what Eric Holder announced this weekend, that they will give, the federal government will soon treat married same-sex couples the same as heterosexual couples when they file for bankruptcy, testify in court, or visit family in prison. And this would apply in every state, even in states where they don't recognize same-sex marriage. Is this another example?
No, I think he has no choice on that because of the Supreme Court's Windsor decision, in which invalidated a portion of DOMA. Basically, the Supreme Court said the federal government has to recognize same-sex marriages. So let's say a couple married in New Jersey, and one of them is in a Veterans Administration hospital in Texas. The spouse of the one in the hospital will be treated as a spouse because they're on federal property.
Right.
This is not telling all Texas hospitals how to do it, just those owned by the federal government.
Right. So you feel that
I think he's doing the right thing there. It would be a lot easier if the law were the same everywhere, but it's not. All
right, Judge. We'll watch you on the Fox News channel as always, where you, of course, are senior judicial.
Actually, we'll be discussing all of this tonight at 9 o'clock on the Kelly File with the ever wonderful and charming Megyn Kelly.
Well,
herself.
give her our regards, give her my regards, and always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
Anytime, Stevie.
All right,
Bye-bye.
take care. That's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Ladies and gentlemen, Fox News senior judicial analyst and best-selling author. Very, very interesting art. When we return, we'll be joined by former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra, and our liberal friend, Christopher Hahn. We'll stir things up just a little bit, as we like to do right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.